नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Canto 3, Chapter 5, Verse 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Varidhanuta Rushabha Karuna Maitrayamasina Magadabodham Kshaktopasutya Chitabhavasita Prapacha Shaushilya Gunabhitruptaha.
Usha Mataji, please. Hare Krishna, Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
We can't hear you, Usha Mataji.
Sukdev Goswami said, Vidur, the best amongst the Kuru dynasty, who was perfect in devotional service to the Lord, thus reached the source of the celestial Ganges river, Hardwar. Maitreya, the great from the less learned sage of the world, was seated. Vidur, who was perfect in gentleness and satisfied in transcendence, inquired from him.
Verse 2. Vidura Uvacha Sukhaya Karmani Karoti Loko Natai Sukham Vanya Duparam Va Vindeta Bhuyas Tata Eva Dukham Yadatra Yuktam Bhagavan Vadena.
In the activities to attain happiness, but one finds neither satisfaction nor the mitigation of distress. On the contrary, one is only aggravated by such activities. Please, therefore, give us a direction on how one should live for real happiness.
Verse 3. Janasya Krishna Dvimukhasya Daiva Dadharmashilasya Sudakitasya Anugrahaye Charanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya.
O my Lord, great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to show compassion to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord.
Verse 4. Tatsadu Bharya Dishavartmashanaham Samradhito Bhagavan Yena Punsam Hridhi Sthito Yachati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Satatvadigam Puranam.
Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in the terms of the ancient Vedic principle delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service.
Verse 5. Karoti karmani krutavataro yanyatmatantro bhagavansya disha yatha sansargagra idam niriha sanstapya vrittim jagato vidyate.
O great sage, kindly narrate how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the independent, desireless Lord of the three worlds and the controller of the all energies, accept incarnation and create the cosmic manifestation principle
Verse 6. यथा पुनः स्वेख इदं निवेश्य शेते गुहायां सनिवृत्तवृत्तिः योगेश्वरादिराश्वर एक एत दनु प्रविष्टो बहुधा यथासीत्.
He lies down on his own heart spread in the foam of sky, and thus placing the whole creation in the space, he expands himself to make.
Verse 7. क्रीडन्
Not
विदत्ते.
help endeavor for his maintenance because he. Sorry, I lost it. Because he is the master of all majestic power and the proprietor of everything. Thus, he is distinct from the living entities.
Verse 7. क्रीडन् विदित्ते द्विजगोऽसुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतारभैदः मनो न तृप्त्यत्यपि शूणवन्तानः शुश्रूलोकमौलेश्वरितामृतानि.
You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the Christborn, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of his transcendental activities.
Verse 8. ये सत्त्वतत्त्वाभिधेरधिलोकनाथो लोकान् लोकान् सह
लोकान्
अधिक्रपद्रते हि सर्वसत्त्व निकाय वेदोऽधिभूतप्रतीक.
The Supreme King of all kings has created different planets and places of inhabitation where living entities are situated in terms of the modes of nature and work, and he has created their different kings and rulers.
Verse 9. येन प्रजाना अमुतात्मकर्म रूपाभिधानां यभिधां व्यधत् नारायणो विश्वशृगात्मयोनि रेचत्यनो वर्णविप्रवर्य.
The Lord has differently created the natures, activities, forms, features, and names of the different living creatures.
Verse 10. परावरेषां भगवन् व्रतानि श्रुतानि मे व्यासमुखादभीक्षणम् अतृप्रभु क्षुल्लसुखावहानां तेषामृते कृष्णकथामृतोऽद्यात्.
O my Lord, I have repeatedly heard about this higher satisfied with all these lesser subject matters and their happiness. They have not satisfied me with the nectar of the topics about Krishna.
Verse 11. कस्तृ प्रयातीर्थपदोभिधानात् सत्रेषु वसूरिभिरीङ्यमानात् यकर्णनाण्डी पुरुषस्य यातो भव प्रदां गेहरतिं छिन्नति.
Who in society can be satisfied here of pilgrimage, and who is worshipped by great sages and devotees? Of one's
Verse 12. मुनिर्विवक्षु भगवद्गुणानां सखापि ते भारतमाह कृष्णः यस्मिन् नृणाग्राम्य सुखानुवादै मर्ति गृहीतानुहरे कथायाम्.
Your friend, the great sage Krishna Vaipanya Vyas, has already described the transcendental qualities of the Lord in his great work, the Mahabharata. But the whole idea is to draw the attention of a mass of people to Krishna.
Verse 13. सहस्राद्ददानस्य विवृद्धिमाना विरक्तिमन्यत्र करोति पुंसः हरे पदानुस्मृतिनिवृत्तस्य समस्तदुःखाप्ययमाशु दत्ते.
The
Hare Krishna. Usha Mataji, we can't hear you.
For one who is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics, Krishna Katha gradually increases his indifference toward all other things. Such constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna by the devotee who has achieved transcendental bliss vanquishes all.
Verse 14. ताच्छोष्यशोच्यानविदोऽनुशोष्योचे हरे कथाया विमुखानदेन क्षिणोति देवे निमिषास्तु येषा माया मायुवृथा वादगति स्मृतीनाम्.
O sage persons who, because of their sinful activities, are averse to the topic of transcendental and thus ignorant of the purpose of the Mahabharata Bhagavad Gita, are pitiated by the pitiable. I also pity them because I see how their duration of life is spoiled by eternal time while they involve themselves in presentation of philosophical speculation, theoretical ultimate goals of life, and different mode of rituals.
Verse 15. तदस्य कोशारवशर्मदातु हरे कथामेव कथासु सारम् उद्धत्र्य पुष्पे इवार्तबन्धो शिवाय नः कीर्तय तीर्थकीर्तेः.
Distress. The glories of the Supreme Lord can alone be good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as the bees collect honey from the flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord.
Verse 16. स विश्वजन्म स्थिति संयमार्थे कृतावतार प्रकृगीत शक्ति चकार कर्माण्यति पुरुषाणि यानीश्वर कीर्तयतानि मह्यम्.
Kindly chant all those superhuman transcendental activities of the Supreme Controller, the personality of Godhead, who accepted incarnation fully equipped with all potency for the full manifestation and maintenance of the cosmic creation.
Verse 70. श्रीशुक उवाच स एवं भगवान् पृष्ट क्षत्राकोशारवो मुनिः पुंसानि श्रेयसार्थेन तमाय बहुमानयन्.
Sukdev Goswami said, the great sage Maitreya Muni, after honoring Vidur very greatly, began to speak at Vidur's request for the greatest welfare of all people. Hare Krishna. Sorry if I have made any mistake.
Hare Krishna, please forgive me for my mispronunciation.
No problem. Thank you very much. It was wonderful recitation. Can everyone hear me?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So let me share my screen and it's 3. So I guess you can see the verses here,
Ye-
3.10, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Jyotinandaji. So we will start. Yeah, we'll start now. Today is an interesting topic to go through. Let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी यं प्राव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजु आवा पुत्रेति तन्मयतयोत्तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि. So we are going to discuss three verses today, 10, 11, and 12 from the fifth canto, from the fifth chapter of the third canto. Let's chant the verses and read the translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Paravreshaam bhagavan vratani shrutani me vyasa mukhadabhikshanam atrupnum kshulla sukhavhanam teshamrute krishna kathamruto bhat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O my Lord, I have repeatedly heard about these higher and lower statuses of human society from the mouth of Vyasadeva, and I am quite satiated with all these lesser subject matters and their happiness. They have not satisfied me with the nectar of topics about Krishna. Purport. Because people are very much interested in hearing social and historical presentations, Srila Vyasadeva has compiled many books such as the Puranas and Mahabharata. These books are reading matter for the mass of people, and they were compiled with a view of reviving their God consciousness, now forgotten in the conditional life of material existence. The real purpose of such literatures is not so much to present topics of historical references, but to revive the people's sense of God consciousness. For example, Mahabharata is the history of the battle of Kurukshetra, and common people read it because it is full of topics regarding the social, political, and economic problems of human society. But factually, the most important part of Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita. It is automatically taught to readers along with the historical narrations of the battle of Kurukshetra. Vidura explained to Maitreya his position of being fully satiated with the knowledge of mundane social and political topics and having no more interest in them. He was anxious to hear transcendental topics regarding Lord Sri Krishna. Because there were insufficient topics directly concerning Krishna in the Puranas, Mahabharata, etc., he was not satisfied and wanted to know more about Krishna. Krishna Katha or topics regarding Krishna are transcendental, and there is no satiation in regarding such topics. Bhagavad Gita is important on account of its being Krishna Katha or speeches delivered by Lord Krishna. The story of the battlefield of Kurukshetra may be interesting for the mass of people, but to a person like Vidura, who is highly advanced in devotional service, only Krishna Katha and that which is dovetailed with Krishna Katha is interesting. Vidura wanted to hear of everything from Maitreya, and so he inquired from him, but he desired that all the topics to be in relationship with Krishna. As fire is never satisfied in its consumption of firewood, so a pure devotee of Lord never hears enough about Krishna. Historical events and other narrations concerning social and political incidents all become transcendental as soon as they are in relationship with Krishna. That is the way to transform mundane things into spiritual identity. The whole world can be transformed into Vaikuntha if all worldly activities are dovetailed with Krishna Katha. There are two important Krishna Kathas current in the world, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is the Krishna Katha because it is spoken by Krishna, whereas Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna Katha because it narrates about Krishna. Lord Chaitanya advised all his disciples to preach Krishna Katha all over the world without discrimination because the transcendental value of Krishna Katha can purify one and all from material contamination. Which verse from Srimad Bhagavatam reminds us when we are reading this purport and the earlier translation, the inquiry from Vidur? Anyone would like to remind us that verse? It's a very famous verse. Is there anybody who can shed some light on that? No? Okay. I will give you a hint. It is the verse before the famous verse Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Now, I think that should make it simple, isn't it? Okay. The verse is Shrunvatam Sukatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanat Riddhantasthoya Abhadrani Vidhunoti Surutsatam. So, what that verse means is Shrunvatam Swakatha. Shrunvata means to hear. Swakatha means either it is directly narrated by the Supreme Lord Krishna, Swakatha Krishna, or it is about Krishna, about the Supreme Lord. Punya Shravana Kirtanat means our hearing about that auspiciousness about Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtanat. Then what happens? The second line tells us the effect when we hear about Krishna and from Krishna himself directly. R is our heart. Hridyanta, inside our heart. Stha means which is stationed there, which is sitting there. Hridyantastho, here, what is sitting there? Abhadrani, all the unwanted things in our heart. What? Lust, anger, greed, kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsar. Ruddhantastho ya abhadrani, vidhunoti surutsatam. Vidhunoti means it gets washed away completely. When we keep hearing about from the Lord or about the Lord. Surut Satam. And then what happens? Our heart becomes clean, it becomes pure, and it comes in the mode of goodness. So that's what this verse is telling us. And then the next verse is Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, which we chant before our Bhagavatam classes. This is a very interesting purport, but very insightful. We'll come back to that after reading other two verses and the translations and purports. So let's go to verse number 11. Oh. Karstupnu yatirtha padobidhana satre shubha suri bhiridyamana yah karananadim purushasya yato bhavapradam geharanti chinanti. Translation: who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord, whose lotus feet are the sum total of all places of pilgrimage, and who is worshipped by great sages and devotees? Such topics can cut off one's bondage to family affection simply by entering the holes of one's ears. It reminds us another interesting verse. Let's go to that verse. It's a very beautiful verse. It's a prayer actually. Let's go to that. So it is in 12th canto. It's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13th chapter. And that's the verse. Suta Uvacha Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutash Tunvanti Divyaistavair Vedet Sangapada Kramo Upanishadir Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanaavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam no Vidu Sura Asuragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So that's the translation. Who would like to read the translation? It's a very beautiful translation, very purifying. Any volunteers? No?
Hare Krishna, I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, please do, Mataji.
Suta Goswami said, unto that personality whom Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and the Maruts praise by chanting transcendental hymns and reciting the Vedas with all their corollaries. But the Kramas and Upanishads, to whom the chanters of the Samaveda always sing, whom the perfected yogis see within their minds after fixing themselves in trance and absorbing themselves within him, and whose limit can never be found by any demigod or demon, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I offer my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Isn't this very sweet and very beautiful? The meter of this verse is also very, very beautiful, very melodious. So let's go back to our today's verse. So, who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord, whose lotus feet are sum total of all places of pilgrimage? So everyone worships the lotus feet of the Lord, either directly or indirectly. That's what this prayer is saying. By great sages and devotees. Such topics, what what is the line in the prayer? Yasyandam na vidu sura asuragana devaya tasmai namaha. That's the last, and then before that, what dhyanavasthita tadgatena manasa pashyantiyam yogino. All the yogis, rishis, they are constantly meditating on him. And then such topics can cut off one's bondage of family affection simply by entering the holes of one's ears. We know we don't need to be scared that after hearing this verse and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we will be separated from our families. What this means is our attachment to this body will get reduced as we keep hearing more and more about Lord, about Krishna Katha. So attachment towards the divinity in this material body will remain, will be there. But our attachment to this material body, which is a cause of miseries, will reduce. That's what it means. We will quickly go through Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purports as well, because this is a very important area of discussion. So I'll read that after finishing these three verses. Krishna Katha is purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna Katha is so powerful that simply by entering into a person's ear, it can at once give deliverance from the bondage of family affection. Family affection is an illusory manifestation of the external energy, and it is the only impetus for all mundane activities. As long as there is mundane activity and the mind is absorbed in such engagement, one has to undergo the repetition of birth and death in the current material essence. People are most influenced by the mode of ignorance, and some are influenced by the passionate mode of material nature. And under the spell of these two modes, a living entity, mode, two modes, a living entity is actuated by the material conception of life. The mundane qualities do not allow a living entity to understand his real position. The qualities of both ignorance and passion strongly bind one to the illusory bodily conception of the self. The best among the fools who are thus deluded by those who engage in altruistic activities under the spell of material mode of passion. Srila Prabhupada, he was asked by some quote unquote material scholars that what is wrong in doing all the charity and altruistic and all those activities. And Prabhupada said this is nothing but an extended sense gratification. And it's a very amazing explanation. What Prabhupada says is, because I am in certain situation which is better than others, and that gives me the happiness, which itself is an illusion, which is fictitious. um, that person thinks that if someone else is in the similar situation like me, who has a similar house, who has a car, who has some facilities like basic for sense gratification, I'm doing good. That means um, it will it, it satisfies that person's ego or the extended ego, and that's why Prabhupada is very direct here. He says the best among the fools who are thus deluded are those who engage in altruistic activities under the spell of material mode of passion. Okay, let's move ahead. Bhagavad Gita, which is direct Krishna Katha, gives humanity the elementary lesson that the body is perishable and that the consciousness which is spread throughout the body is imperishable. The conscious being, the imperishable self, is eternally existent and cannot be killed under any circumstances, even after the dissolution of the body. Anyone who misunderstands this perishable body to be the self and who works for it in the name of sociology, politics, philanthropy, altruism, nationalism, or internationalism under the false plea of the bodily conception of life is certainly a fool and does not know the implication of reality and unreality. Very important point for many people to remember, and all of us. Some of them are above the modes of ignorance and passion and are situated in the mode of goodness. But mundane goodness is always contaminated by tinges of ignorance and passion. Mundane goodness can enlighten one that the body and the self are different, and one in goodness is concerned with the self and not the body. But due to being contaminated, those in mundane goodness cannot understand the real nature of the self as a person. Their impersonal conception of the self as distinct from the body keeps them in the mode of goodness within material nature. And unless they're attracted by Krishna Katha, they will never be liberated from the bondage of material existence. Krishna Katha is the only remedy for all people in the world because it can situate one in pure consciousness of the self and liberate one from material bondage. To preach Krishna Katha all over the world, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, is the greatest missionary activity, and all sensible men and women of the world may join in this great movement started by Lord Chaitanya. It reminded me something else. I'll just quickly say that, and then we will move to the next verse. Why Prabhupada was constantly against the Mayavad? Because that gives us a very interesting insight after reading this purport. When someone says that, yes, I will merge with the God and you are God covered by Maya, that gives a very interesting philosophical understanding that even if after liberation, I will be equivalent. I will be this. I will have the same quality. I will have the same quantity. Everything same as God. So that means the basic of service is missing. But at the same time, the Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. That is our nature is to serve. Without that, soul cannot be satisfied. So that is why people get into this kind of ideas of service related to sociology, politics, philanthropy, altruism, nationalism, internationalism, and so on and so forth. And this purport gives the insight of why Prabhupada was very against the idea of Mayavad. Obviously, this is a false philosophy itself, elaborated by Sripad Shankaracharya in Kevala Dvaita Siddhanta for a different reason. So let's go to the next verse. Munirvivikshur भगवद्गुणानां सखापिते भारतमाह कृष्णः यस्मिन्द्रणां ग्राम्य सुखानुवादैर् मतिर्गृहीता नु हरे कथायां. Translation: Your friend, the great sage Krishnadvaipayana Vyas, has already described the transcendental qualities of the Lord in his great work, the Mahabharata. But the whole idea is to draw the attention of the mass of people to Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita, through their strong affinity for hearing mundane topics. The great sage Krishnadvaipayana Vyas is the author of all Vedic literature, of which his works Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Mahabharata are very popular readings. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:4-25. Let's go to this verse because Prabhupada's references are very, very powerful. Stri Shudra Tvijabandhunam Traina Shruti-gochara Karma Shreyasi Mudhanam Shreya Evam Bhave Diha Iti Bharatamakyanam Kripaya Munina Krutam. Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the great historical narration called Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. This purport gives a very interesting details of Prabhupada's thoughts, why he is emphasized on Varnashram, establishment of Varnashram Dharma. Because Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha, all these people in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy are all Shudras, Janmana Jayate Shudra. So let's go back to our today's verse. Srila Vyasdeva compiled the Mahabharata for the less intelligent class of men who take more interest in mundane topics than in the philosophy of life. The Vedanta Sutra was compiled for persons already above the mundane topics, who might already have tasted the bitterness of so-called happiness of mundane affairs. The first aphorism of Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jitnyasa. That is, only when one has finished the business of mundane inquiries in the marketplace of sense gratification can one make relevant inquiries regarding Brahma, the transcendence. Those persons who are busy with the mundane inquiries which fill the newspapers and other such literatures are classified as three Shudra, Dvijabandhus, or women, the laborer class, and the unworthy sons of higher classes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. Such less intelligent men cannot understand the purpose of Vedanta Sutra, although they may make a show of studying the sutras in a perverted way. The real purpose of Vedanta Sutra is explained by the author himself in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And anyone trying to understand Vedanta Sutra without reference to Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly misguided. Such misguided persons who are interested in the mundane affairs of philanthropic and altruistic work under the misconception of the body as the self could better take advantage of the Mahabharata, which was specifically compiled by Srila Vyasadeva for their benefit. The great author has compiled the Mahabharata in such a way that the less intelligent class of men who are more interested in mundane topics may read the Mahabharata with great relish and in the course of such mundane happiness can also take advantage of Bhagavad Gita, the preliminary study of Srimad Bhagavatam or the Vedanta Sutra. Srila Vyasadeva had no interest in writing a history of mundane activities other than to give less intelligent persons a chance of transcendental realization through Bhagavad Gita. Vidura's reference to the Mahabharata indicates that he had heard of the Mahabharata from Vyasadeva, his real father, while he was away from home and was touring the places of pilgrimage. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's chant our invocation, Mangala Charana, and then we will start our discussions. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। अजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावधातौ सङ्कीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजभरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणा अवतारौ यन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्य अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणाश्रवणात्मगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। So thank you everyone for joining our discussions today. So this particular verse, Paravareshan Bhagavan Vratani, Shrutani me Vyasa Mukhad Bhikshnam, Atrupnam Kshulla Sukhavahanam, Teshamrute Krishna Katham Vrutoghat. Oh my Lord, I have repeatedly heard about these higher and lower statuses of human society from the mouth of Vyasadeva, and I am quite satiated with all these lesser subject matters and their happiness. They have not satisfied me with the nectar of topics about Krishna. So let's see what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says about this. His translation, which Prabhupada very beautifully brings in his purports and his translation as well. Let's go through that because Prabhupada brings Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan's mood of commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam and obviously Govinda Bhashya, which is Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. So, but his spiritual master is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and we will go through that, how that Madhurya Rasa Acharya brings what he adds or what he brings from his translation and commentary. So translation is great person. I have heard repeatedly of various natures of high and low persons from the mouth of Vyasadeva. I have been satiated with hearing about those natures which give insignificant happiness, being devoid of great sweetness of Krishna's pastime. So much of, you can see the genius, how genius Prabhupada is, that this translation, he has brought the mood of all our acharyas in his translation here. So let's see the commentary and you will relish the purport from Srila Prabhupada even more. So the commentary from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is, but you have heard all this in Mahabharata. This verse answers, I heard about the natures vratani of high entities such as devatas and low entities such as animals. I was satiated with them. The usage is like Nagni's Tripti Kathanam. A fire is not satisfied by sticks of wood. Tesham, in the genitive case, indicates that he was actually not satisfied with them. They give insignificant happiness, being without the abundant nectar of Krishna's pastimes. This indicates whatever I have asked you, you should speak about, but mixed with the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes. So, can you imagine that Prabhupada was spontaneously writing these translations and purports when up to the 10th canto? And what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is translating and commenting on this verse, it is already reflected in the spontaneous translation by Srila Prabhupada. In fact, that gives us more and more very intense appreciation of Srila Prabhupada's efforts and his compassion and his eagerness to spread this movement of Krishna consciousness across the globe. Something I think I'm blown away by the greatness of our Acharya. Let's go to the next verse, and that will also give further insight. So verse number 11, Srila Prabhupada says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad says that translation is, what man can never be fully satiated with hearing the names of Krishna glorified by great sages in your assembly, entering the ears, those topics destroy attraction to material life, the cause of material existence. And in commentary, he says, but you have heard plentiful discussions about Krishna. This verse answers, even if the names Abhidhana cannot full satiate a person, what to speak of discussions of Krishna's pastimes? Abhidhana can also refer to discussions about Krishna. The ablative indicates a missing principle. Who can be satiated from hearing the names of Krishna? And let's go to the next verse, which is verse number 12. I will close this. Where he says, in translation, O sage, your friend Vyasadeva, desiring to describe the qualities of the Lord, wrote Mahabharata. In that work, he attracted men's attraction on topics to the Lord through topics about material happiness. And here, the commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is also quite elaborate, where he says, the essence of Mahabharata is also the topics of Krishna. Muni Krishna is Vyasadeva, Veda Vyas. Gunanam is genitive stands for the accusative, or it can indicate the abundance of Lord's qualities. The minds of men absorbed in material pleasure became controlled by Vyasa through stories about Artha and Kama, in order that their minds enter into sections such as Bhagavad Gita and Narayaniya. They then become attracted to those topics. Otherwise, not listening to spiritual topics, they would never come near them. Itihasa Samuchaya says, which is a very detailed description in Sanskrit. We won't read that now, maybe sometime later, but the translation I will quickly read. What result can be attained by describing the lust of a lusty men, and the greed of greedy men, except to send them into the darkness of a well? In the Mahabharata, lust and greed are described to purify people's hearts and are moreover condemned by stories with pure meaning. Otherwise, why would the most merciful and learned Vyasa describe lust and greed, the cause of bondage to terrible material existence? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. So let's start our discussions. So in the first, let's quickly get to the point of what this chapter is. First 9 verses is basically Mahatma Vidur is asking Maitreya Rishi, who is the contemporary of his father, Srila Vyasadeva, and that's what he's telling Maitreya Rishi that, "Oh my Lord, I have repeatedly heard about these higher and lower statuses of human society from the mouth of Vyasadeva, his father." And in the first 9 chapters, he's requesting Maitreya Rishi how to live for real happiness. When he says devotees travel to show the compassion to the fallen souls, he's basically glorifying the devotees um, and the and the devotional service. Then in next few verses, he's requesting Maitreya Rishi to describe about Purusha Avatar, Virat Roop, Leela Avatars, living conditions on different planets and different living entities. And then today we saw that in the 10th verse, he's saying, Mahabharata I'm satiated with, but I want to hear more about Krishna Katha. So he's keen to hear basically what Maitreya Rishi has heard directly from the Lord. And that's why in the 10th verse, he's saying no lesser topics, being devoid of the nectar of Krishna's pastimes. The lesser topics, like the higher and lower statuses of human society, which are described in Mahabharata a bit more elaborately, which I heard from Vyasadeva, he's not satisfied with that. And that's where, as we saw, Shavashna Chakri Thakur is saying that yes, he has heard about Krishna, but that was not enough. That was not the Gatha, what he's looking forward to hear from Maitreya Rishi. So in 11th verse, he's elaborating that point, that who in human society can be fully satisfied with hearing the talks of the Lord, Tirthapada, who is worshipped by great devotees. Such topics can cut off one's bondage simply by entering the holes of one's ears. So here the verse from 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is very relevant, where Lord says to Arjun, Yetu karmani sarvani mai sanyasya matparaha. Whatever you are doing, your karma, do that as offering to me. Yajjoshi yadasnasi yatkaroshi dadasiyat yattapasyasi kaunteya tatkurusha madarpanam. Ninth chapter, Lord has instructed that on that point to Arjun, but in 12th chapter, he is giving more of a very conclusive, very powerful statement. Of course, in 18th chapter, he says Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, but that is the ultimate conclusion for as an instruction. But here he is giving more of a insightful details of what all of us, what every aspiring devotee should aim for. Mai sanyasya matparaha. What is that sanyasa means? That from all the material activities, you step away and do that as an offering to me. Ananya naiva yogena mam dhyanto upasade. How you should do that? Ananya naiva yogena. Yoga means to connect, to add, to join. Don't join anything else, but do every action, do every activity as for me. That's how you will get connected to me. Mam dhyanto upaste. How? That is focused on me, that should be your upasana. Tesham aham samuddharta. That to that person, aham means talking, Lord is talking about himself. Sama uddharta, constant. Uddharta means I will take out. Tesham aham, to that person who is following this instruction. Mrityu samsara sagara. I will be the swift deliverer. I will take out quickly from this ocean of material miseries. Mrityu samsara sagara, ocean of birth and death, repeated birth and death. Bhavamina chirat parthamaya veshita chetasam. And then he is telling, oh Arjuna, the he will come back to me. I will award him that liberation. That person will come back to me. Maya veshita chetasam. He will be with me perpetually, eternally. That's what Lord is promising in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, and in the 12th verse, there we saw here the purpose of Mahabharata. Your friend, the great sage Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, he's actually, if we see here, Mahatma Vidur is telling Maitreya Rishi that yes, my father is your friend, and he has already described the transcendental qualities of the Lord in his great work, the Mahabharata. But the whole idea is to draw the attention of the mass of people to Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Katha, through their strong affinity for hearing mundane topics. So in the 12th chapter, he's saying that yes, I understand the importance of Mahabharata. It is necessary for this age of where people are interested in something which is other than the path of bhakti. What these three verses are telling us is something occurred to me when I was going through the purports and the translation and the purports and some of the notes. Is, as Prabhupada writes in the purport of the 10th verse of what we saw, is what is Krishna Katha is when we understand that our relationship with the Lord is of pure love. And in that pure love, what we want to hear all the time is Nama Guna Krita Dheya. Our objective Dheya should be his name, because, for example, when you love somebody, hearing the name of that person, it gives us happiness. So hearing the name of the Lord should bring us happiness in our heart. Nama. And why does that do? Why that happens is Nama Guna, because that person has so many wonderful qualities, which is the most attractive part for the sweet loving relationship. Nama Guna Krita. So what to do with those qualities? It's not static, the qualities of the Lord and the name. There are activities, Krita. And those activities is the loving exchange, that relationship with the Lord. And if we keep listening to it, it will Ruddantasthoya Abhadrani. That will help us to clean our heart from all the unwanted dirt from our heart. And that's what the crux, that's what the basic reason Prabhupada, it has been emphasized here. So if we a few things we can think of about going back to Bhagavad Gita here, that how Arjun requests the Supreme Lord that I want to hear more. So he says, let's take this verse here. वक्तुम् अहर्षस्य शेषेण दिव्याह्यात्मविभूतयः या याभिर विभूति भिर्लोकान निमांस्त्वम वाप्यतिष्ठसि. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, um, Arjun is requesting this. In this verse, it appears that Arjun is already satisfied with his understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the point we were just talking about. Krishna. By Krishna's grace, Arjun has personal experience, intelligence, and knowledge, and whatever else a person may have. And through all these agencies, he has understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But once you understand that yes, he's my Lord and he's Bhagwan, for him there is no doubt. Yet he is asking Krishna to explain all his pervading nature. So this is the listening about his opulences, his guna, his qualities, his everything, vibhutis, is also Krishna Katha. But that relationship with the Lord, that Leela of the Lord is even sweeter. So God as a principle, if anyone wants to hear, then we will relish about, yes, how great the Lord is. That is the Vibhuti part. And how Arjun requests that. That's the next verse. We will come to that. Katham vidyamaham yogims tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. It's very look at the language itself is so beautiful. The way Arjun is um, requesting his dearmost friend, his Lord, uh, is the epitome of Sakhyaras. And he's saying, "O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you? And how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered? O Supreme Personality of God." Wonderful, isn't it? It means it's such a, the way Arjun is saying that I want to know more, I want to hear more and more about you. And the way he says, you can read Srila Prabhupada's purport later, but we will go to the next verse where Arjun is again bringing the. Are we here? Yeah. 18th. Vistarena mano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuyaha kathaya truptirhi shrunvato nasti mritam. And then he says further that, O Janardhan, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. So beautiful. Once you start hearing about the Lord, about Krishna Katha, Shrunvatam So Katha Krishna, it's constant. We will just keep listening more and more and more. Once we have that taste for the Nama Guna Kruta. So that's what this purport is. And Srila Prabhupada gives 1119 here. Vayam tu na vitrupyam uttama shloka vikrame. Uttam Shlok is the name of the Lord. Krishna is also called Uttama Shloka because that's the best sound vibration any living entity can think of. Yachunvatam rasadnyanam swadu swadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationship with him, relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. So that's what Prabhupada gives in the purport. I think I spoke enough. There was something interesting I wanted to just mention here. We all, in India especially, when we hear about scriptures, about the pastimes of the Lord and everything, Sometimes it comes to a point that if we are not sincere enough, and if we don't consistently listen, and if we try to bring the material motivations and activities and our hidden agendas, while we take Lord's pastimes, His name and His qualities, everything bit cheaply. And one of the examples here is once one Western devotee went to India, and in Kolkata he saw an ad where it was an ad of a sari shop, and that ad was saying that that Gopi Vastra Harana Leela of the Lord, those Krishna stole the clothes of the Gopikas. Those clothes are from our shop, and that is a bit hilarious, and at the same time it's offensive as well, that without understanding the reasoning, the crux, the gravity of our scriptures, people take things cheaply and use it for their advertisement and make this kind of cheap ads and jokes out of it. So something for us to make sure that we won't entertain such kind of nonsense from the mundane people, taking Krishna's activities very cheaply. That's why our understanding should be proper and well matured. So that was one of the points I thought of bringing up here. So yes, now I will stop here. Are there any questions or comments? No question, no comments. All big silence. No problem. Thank you very much. I will stop. Vanchakalpatarubhya.
सर्वोत्कृष्ट कृपा सिंधु पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Oh Namah. Hare
हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice class. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mataji. Stop sharing.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Krishna.